Hey everyone, today we're going to be showing you how to do ball joints on a Ford Transit. This should be in the range of a 2017 newer Transit. It may work on previous years, I'm not exactly sure. You would need to consult service manual or any other way you can find information for torque specs and things like that. But if your ball joint looks like this will teach you how to do your ball joints. The ball joints on the Transits are the crap, no doubt about it. They wear out very quickly. We have a fleet of 8 Transits, and they've all needed ball joints at 100,000 miles. The Transit already has an issue of bad camber alignment. You cannot adjust camber on a Ford Transit. You can only adjust cross camber by moving the whole front member left and right to equal out your camber, but you cannot actually adjust the camber, and it seems like they all like to wear out the inside edge of the tire. Which is kind of problematic. So again, today we're going to be showing you how to do the ball joints on it. This will require you to purchase a special tool because this ball joint is kind of unique in the sense that it has this hat on it. The bolts secure it to the knuckle, and the ball joint is pressed into the knuckle, not pressed into the control arm. It's kind of like doing ball joints on a E350 or anything with twin I-beams, where the ball joints are pressed into the knuckle. They're a bit of a pain, and because they have this hat on here with the bolt holes, it makes it pretty much impossible to receive it with a cup and use a C-type, C-clamp type ball joint press. So you will have to get a special tool. And that special tool is the 204-069 from Rotunda, and then you need to also get the kit that comes along with it, which is the 204-069-01, and that gives you the press cup, the adapter, these two guys that actually have the threads that go into the steering knuckle. The 204-069 will come with 2 long bolts, but they're useless for doing ball joints. This tool can also do other things besides just doing the ball joints. This adapter goes onto the ball joint, and it also adapts to the puller rod, and it's going to be next to impossible to do the ball joints without this tool. Now, I'm sure that someone could cobble up a kit that would do the same job, you know, with using, you know, the old ball joint nut and piece of all thread and, you know, maybe another, you know, cannibalize another puller to do this. But I highly recommend you just get the tool from Ford. Now, it is expensive. For the 2 kits, you're looking right around $550 with shipping. That may be kind of prohibitive. I know that they charge, I believe, 4 hours to do both ball joints, depending on the labor time in your, you know, any shop that you may take it to. You may be able to literally buy the tool with labor, of what you might pay in labor, but I can understand if a lot of people don't want to, and hopefully this video will show you if this is something you want to take on yourself, or if you'd rather just take it to a shop. All the torque specs will be in the description as well as displayed to you in the video. Before you get started, you of course need your ball joint. You are going to need to be able to get your vehicle high up in the air on at least 6-ton jack stands. Now, I work at a cheap-ass shop and we don't have a lift, so I use jack stands here. I'm not going to show you how to do this with a lift. I'd love to be able to do that, but I'm not going to. But you will need to get the vehicle high up on your jack stands to allow this thing to have clearance with the ground. Unless, of course, you're doing the struts at the same time, at which point you can just take the whole knuckle off and go take it over on a bench and just do it then. You can also take the knuckle off if you can't get the vehicle high enough in the air. I just jack it high up in the air so I don't have to mess with that. It's a rather quick process if you have this tool. It's really not that bad, but you do need the tool, and doing it without a tool would be a nightmare. I don't think I could do it without the tool, without having to make my own tool. Anyways, let's get on with it, and we'll start showing you how this works. First, we remove our wheel, of course. brake hook ready. Hang that guy right there. Here, I'll pause it. Go ahead and pause it. Good. Good. Alright, so you center line your ball joint. Put your adapter on. Spin it all the way in. And no, that's not my music. I just feel like I need to point that out for the video. So we're going to line up our puller bolts. And it's just easier to do it this way, otherwise it's putting together a piece of crap in midair. Just run it in. And now loosen up your your puller bolts on your puller bracket. Give you some slack to work with. Start these guys in. Sometimes they can be a bit of a pain in the ass to get started. But no matter what, you have to run them all the way in, or there's a very good possibility not only will you break them off, you just broke a very expensive tool. And now they're stuck in the knuckle and you'll have to extract them out. And this is made out of hardened tool steel, so your easy outs and drill bits will have a lot of work cut out for them. Just run them in until they soft bottom. They don't have to be super tight. Just when they hit the bottom of the blind threads. Alright, once you got that done, I can get a good right there. You want to center up your bolts and your puller, that way you're making a nice straight line pull. And now we're going to snug down our puller bolts to our puller frame. They don't have to be super tight. It's going to be snug. Finger tight's just fine. And then this guy on up there, and when you crank this down, you're going to use your 25. That's the one that spins. You're only holding still with your 13 millimeter. on the center shaft. You're spinning the nut through 26. We have our puller set up, have our adapter on, everything's ready to go ahead and start pulling this guy. So again, we're going to hold the shaft that's connected to the ball joint still with our 13 mil, and we're going to spin with our 26. Fuck you! And it pretty much fights you all the way. Almost there. Alright, and we're loose. So now I just have to take off these guys. Go ahead and loosen these up so they don't bind on you. Oh, right. Guy was catching on the dust shield, but there's our ball joint out. Go ahead and stop it.
It's not letting it go.
When you're ready.
It's going.
Right. You'll be really upset with yourself if you forget to put this on and in the right direction, which is not the way I just put it on. Wait, no, it is. It is. All right, just make sure. You run these guys through your ball joint. And this is a part where you need like 5 hands. Of course, it'd be a lot easier if you had a lift and you were doing this standing up and not all over your head, but, you know, work for a cheap ass shop. do yourself a favor and go ahead and run this guy as far in as you can by hand, because it's not exactly drilled straight, and when you go to put in the other one, it starts to bind and you have to run it in with a wrench. So make it to where you only have to fight one at a time. Make sure that you can at least get it in a few turns by hand. You cross thread this thing, you're going to have a bad day. Everything's stacked up there, as far up there as you can. Go ahead and angle that guy out of the way. You can go ahead and take this off your tool. You don't need it to go back in. Alright. And now we're going to have the nut on this side. And you're pretty much going to need to run it all the way down to make room for the sleeve and the ball joint to fit all in the stack up. Again, this works a whole lot better with the lift, not right above the ground. So run it right up to the end of the threads. Don't forget your friction sleeve. Right. Again, this is a part where it's great to have 5 hands. Washers and nuts. Let's get them started a few turns. Alright, and then your sleeve. Now all of this can get lined up. Go ahead and run this nut up here so it's all held up there out of the way. And again, these guys do not need to be tightened. They just need to be centered and snug down by hand. You're just making more work for yourself if you make it tight. Alright, now it's time to get all of this lined up. This dust shield will not do you any favors. A little bit of contortionist comes in handy. Alright, all lined up there. Looks like we're ready to go in. And just like last time, center shaft stays still. It's the nut that spins, but unfortunately you can only get a little bit of a spin on it now because we're on the other side and pushing in. Go ahead and pause that. sure you don't have anything binding as it goes in that last little bit. Make sure that dust shield is in there where it needs to be. It's pretty hard to turn that last little bit. And you'll feel it bottom out. Now we just take it all apart. Now ball joints in. You can stop there. So angle that guy like that, and it's a lot easier to get it out than it is to put it in, because I'm pretty sure the new ball joint is longer. Take two. She's in there. New nuts and new Torx bolts with Loctite on them. Come with the Motorcraft. I don't know about any other aftermarket ones. Just run them in at the lowest setting of the impact and we'll torque them down. And help it start spinning. This one's 159 foot-pounds. And then our two Torx are going to be 46 foot-pounds. Again, we'll just run them in on our lowest setting and torque them down. Remember, your caliper bolts, as well as your wheel bearing bolts and your brake rotor bolts, are all one-time use fasteners. They're supposed to be replaced every time that you take them off. Your brake caliper bracket bolts are 166 foot-pounds. Make sure you, when you put that brake caliper back on, that your pads are in the right orientation and all squared up and they go back like they're supposed to. Don't forget your brake hook on. Put your wheels on. Torque on the wheels is 150 foot-pounds. Well, I hope that that was informative and showed you how to do the ball joints and let you know if this is something you wanted to tackle yourself or not. I just wanted to talk real quick about one-time fasteners. They're a new thing if you're not used to working on newer vehicles. And you hear a lot of people say, well, is it necessary to replace one-time fasteners? Can I just brush it off and Loctite them myself? And I'm just going to talk on liability real quick. Usually one-time fasteners are used on nowadays on anything that's on the suspension or brakes. So brake caliper brackets, brake slide brackets, lug nut, or not lug nuts, rotor bolts, wheel bearing bolts, control arm bolts, anything that basically holds on the brakes or suspension. They're generally a one-time fastener from the manufacturer. You'll see when you read through the service manual. Take the bolts off, throw them in the trash. Yes, it does increase the cost quite a bit to do brake jobs or anything like that. And you hear about a lot of people just wire brushing them off and Loctiting on. Here is my 2 cents on that. On anything that is on the brake suspension that holds the wheels or lets you stop. And should that fastener fail that you reused, you are making yourself completely culpable. You might have been able to stop and not hit that bus full of school children, and now you weren't able to, and now the mechanic who did that is technically liable because he was told by the manufacturer, by the engineers who built the thing, to replace those fasteners, and he didn't because he thought he knew better. You're not getting out of that in court. There's no way. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. But is that something you want to risk? I work on ambulances. Absolutely not. It's not my money. It's not my vehicle. If the manufacturer tells me to do something a certain way, that's how it's going to be done, no matter how stupid it is. And on any bolt that is torqued to yield, meaning you take it to a certain torque and then you turn it a certain amount of degrees after that, what you're doing is you're stretching the bolt. You're using the bolt to its maximum potential so it can't vibrate back out, which is your rotor bolts and your wheel bearing bolts. If you cannot reuse those one at all, period. You should not. You are stretching a bolt, and when you take it back down to that torque again, you're literally pushing the bolt past its breaking point. You're courting disaster, in my opinion. Now, I know there's going to be people out there like, wire brush them off, and I just put Loctite on them. I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah. I'm sure. And I'm sure that 99 times out of 100, you're going to be just fine. But it's that one time that can get you negligent manslaughter. So be a professional, replace the bolts that they tell you to replace. Like the brake rotor bolts, those are not, or brake caliper bracket bolts, those are not torque to yield. They just take it to 166 foot-pounds. But Ford sends it with their Loctite that has a proprietary blend of 11 herbs and spices, and it's all theirs, and they tell you to replace it. I get it. It's a scheme to sell more bolts. I get it. But if something goes wrong and you didn't do it, and you can't prove that you did it the right way, it's going to be your head on the chopping block. So, in my opinion, if it's not your money, why risk it? Alright, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this video was helpful. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned in the future for more transit videos.